Hey, it's Wednesday evening. I didn't plan on doing this, but it's happening. And so here I am, ready to show you a little bit of artwork and hopefully talk you through the process. Most of the time, what I do is I've tried to do this 2 times before, and I have no idea if my here we go. Wait a minute. Yeah, I should be talking to people. If you guys hear me, send me a comment or something and tell me that you hear me because I've tried this 2 times and I don't know if it's going to go out or not. And so hopefully I got it right this time. I think I do. I'm not sure. So in any case, this is a piece that was put together by Scott Prime. It's for SRG Games Supershow game, and these are a couple of characters called Lawman Nick and Fox Assassin. And Scott's doing he's doing some work on this, and he wanted me to do the coloring. He is of the impression that I'm faster than he is, and that may be true. We're all kind of learning this thing. Coloring is something I do really sincerely enjoy. And so this is an opportunity for me to do some coloring and stuff. And I'll do this for as long as I can stand doing it live, because it's kind of weird to do artwork live. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those questions for you. And otherwise, what I'll do is I'll just kind of talk you through this process as I go. And then every so often I'll take a little break and maybe capture some of these comments that hopefully are going to be coming through soon. The first thing is, those of you who are watching, because there are a few people watching, if you just tell me that you can hear me, that would be a huge deal, because if people can't hear me, I'm going to back out of this and try it again, because I've done this a couple of times. And yeah, that's no fun to do a whole like hour-long broadcast and then find out no one could hear a damn thing that you were saying. So in any case, what I do is I start with an opaque watercolor and do what they call flats on this. And if you look over in this area right here, I have a layer that's set up for flats. And all I'm going to do is just go through here, and I've got a thing. Wait a minute, I got a comment here. Hopefully this is someone saying, I can hear you. That's Mike. Hey, Mike. How's it going, buddy? Mike is a great artist in his own right and has been doing this for a long time. Matter of fact, I got a lot of inspiration in doing comic book art, because I would go see Mike hang out at the conventions and talk to people and create his own comics and stuff back in the Chuck the Barbaric days, and the Heroines Incorporated, which I always enjoyed. Again, if you guys are hearing this, please tell me. If you're not hearing it, I'm going to back out of this quick and do something else. In any case, what I'm going to do is I've got this set underneath the inks. So when I color this in, you should see that it will do a good job of just going right beneath the inks. And, at this phase, I'm not being really picky. I'm just trying to get kind of block these things in there. There's going to be a lot more work on all of this silly stuff. So right now I'm just trying to get it kind of close. I'll make the size of this brush much smaller here in a minute, and then get those extra areas. Just like when you're a child, it's a good idea to try not to color outside of the lines. That never changes. That's still a really good idea. And it's also a good idea to kind of get closer on this thing so that you can make sure that you're doing this right. I had that problem just the other day. I did all of this work, and I was kind of doing it from that wide angle there. If anyone has any questions, just send it to me. The first question that I have here is from Mike, who apparently is hearing me, although he hasn't said, I hear you. Mike says, which program are you working with? So I'm working with Clip Studio Paint Pro. I went through a bunch of different programs when I got I've done analog programs all my life. I've just done, well, analog is not a program. Program is in my brain. I've done analog work all my life, but recently I do not have the space that I feel like, or the materials or anything else to really do analog work correctly. And I really wanted to get into doing work digitally, because it seemed like, digital work offers a lot more opportunities, and it's literally something, I mean, with an art pad or something, you could literally take this anywhere. Oh, okay. There we go. Mike says he hears me. All right. So it's game on. That is awesome. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Seriously. So in any case, I just watched a documentary called Marvel 616, and I didn't really watch it to get any great insight into artwork, but as it turns out, I kind of did, because one of the guys who was illustrating that issue was talking about how he did this work, basically I mean, this is crazy. He has a trailer, and he just goes from place to place in his trailer, and that's how he figures out that he doesn't have a home. It's just wherever he hangs his hat is his home, and he uses, like, he has a fancy pad, like most of the professionals have. My pad is not fancy, for sure. He has one of those, but he also has, like, just kind of a basic looking, like an iPad type pad that he will take outside and sit out where it's, like by the ocean, and he'll do his work out there. That's pretty cool. And that's exactly the sort of thing that, digital work will allow you to do. And one of the many reasons, I mean, I will screw up something here quickly, and when I screw it up, I can just back out of it. I don't have to worry about that. I can make it go away, and I never have to look at it again, which is wonderful. Anyway, Clip Studio Paint Pro. I started out with Photoshop because I was very familiar with it. I went from Photoshop to Illustrator, because I thought maybe it might give me some additional options. And I did a few pieces using that software, but it still wasn't giving me what I felt like was kind of a, what I wanted was a program that would allow me to do the stuff that I could do on a, pencil and paper, basically, or inking or whatever. And when I did the first inking piece on Clip Studio Paint Pro, it's like, I finally arrived, because I was getting the exact same results from Clip Studio as I was getting if I had a sable hair brush, and I was doing things that way. So that's what I was looking for. And since then, I found out that Clip Studio Paint is very instinctual on many, many other things as well. It's not just on the way that you ink stuff. So, that's one of the many benefits of Clip Studio Paint or digital as well. Like Mike says that due to limited space, he went to digital as well. There's the big payoff with digital is, you can, some people do stuff on their phone, which is crazy, but that's what some people do. Now, I am looking at a picture, because this is a character called Lawman Nick. And during this phase, when I'm just trying to figure out what these colors are going to be, I'm just kind of, getting it by sight or whatever. and then everything else will kind of follow through this from this. I'm just trying to get something that's close to what it looks like there on his. It's pretty saturated bandana here around his neck. And again, I'll pop up the size of this, maybe a little more. I like to put the big stuff in there and kind of, I mean, look, there are people that do adult coloring books, right? Because it's relaxing or whatever. Unlike any other process, whether it's pencils or inks or, whatever, painting, coloring stuff like this is relaxing to me. It's pretty cool. I am enjoying it. And the more I get into it, the more I enjoy it. I took a class by, he goes by Color with Kurt. I think his name is Kurt Russell. I'm always astounded with that. It's like Kurt Michael Russell, something like that. Anyway, I took a course by this guy, and he really got me going on this process. It finally kind of made some things click. It was on Udemy, and I think he maybe offers courses in a few different places. But if you're interested in his work, go look up Color by Kurt, which is on YouTube, and just watch some of his stuff. And, you'll probably see what I see, which is that guy really knows his stuff. He does a good job. And he helped me a lot on this sort of stuff. Again, this is a situation where I picked this program specifically because it did certain things that it seemed like other programs didn't do. And if you look at what I'm doing here, I've picked an opaque watercolor brush, and like if I were to run it through through that red color, I just picked a color. I'm gonna have a pretty big thing here. You see what this looks like right here. If I were to run it through this, it would drag that color just like it would, with real painting. If I was painting with kind of a wet medium or something. And you can also see that it kind of fades out. Like the further off I go, it kind of fades out. It's those sort of aspects that I really like about this. Now, I know a lot of people will grab these things and will, just use the fill brush. But again, the way that I'm doing this is meant to kind of be therapeutic in some ways. So I enjoy this process. This is the process I'm doing. By all means, you can do it some other way. But this is what I like doing. This is the way. This is my way. Notice I'm just filling in large areas here. Again, what I will do is I will go back here in a minute and clean up some of this. And some things like, like the buttons and stuff that are in this jacket, I'll come back and I'll color those something else. Although I'm looking at the original figure, and he doesn't have any buttons like that. So now I'm going to have to come up with stuff, which is fine. Hope everyone's doing okay out there. I'm glad to hear that I'm finally doing this, and this is third time's a charm here. I've done this 3 times, and now this is the first time that I'm actually able to talk during this process. Now I want to go again down to a smaller brush, as you can see, and kind of get these areas here around the edge. This is just what the industry calls flatting. So you notice very flat color. There's not a lot of variation here. Just trying to get this color down in general. And I'm not being really fancy with this. I mean, there are things that I can do later on that will unify this so that if I want all of it to look kind of bluish or greenish or purplish or something, I can add a layer to it later on and mess with it. There are other tricks to making this look unified. But right now, I mean, I'm just kind of doing the most basic thing, which is just getting these colors into their kind of native look and making sure that I'm trying not to color out of the lines. It starts to get fun when you add shadows and stuff in. And in this case, I haven't shown the entire piece. I'll do that now for people who are interested. This is going to be a card or maybe a couple of cards, like kind of a larger area. And I have removed a lot of the stuff. Like Scott's put a city in here, and the city has some lights, right? I've removed those because I want to, color everything without any issues. And then he's also put, which I appreciate, he's put a stencil behind them, behind the characters I'm painting, which is something I would have done if he hadn't done, but he kind of did the work there for me. But you can see what it does is it puts that white behind it, and it kind of brings characters out. Otherwise, you would know what these characters look like against the backdrop. And then there's a backdrop. I'm not even going to mess with that at all. So now I'm going to get back in on this guy. Try to get pretty close. My thought on all of this is to do my best and get get these colors out the best I can, because what I've learned is that if you don't get these colors right, when you start going into these other phases, you have to go back and mess with the colors. It's a big pain. So I'm not going to pick exactly white. I'm going to get close to white, like right there for his teeth. I need to get closer, and I need a smaller brush. So I will use the same white, which is this right here, for his teeth, like that. And then he's got a little bit of action here and a little bit here. So I will get those done as well. Someone told me a long time ago, don't ever use white. White should be preserved for maybe never, or, just use something that's close to that. And I think that's probably a pretty good idea. Now this shirt is also not white, or it is white, but I'm not going to choose white. I think I'm going to kind of have a yellowish shirt, maybe in this area. Let's see, I've got some comments here again. Mike says, you use Autodesk Sketchbook Pro. Interesting. I've never even heard of that. Autodesk Sketchbook Pro. Jerry says, hello, Jerry. I find all this fascinating and funny that you even worry about coloring outside the lines. Yeah, hey, what can I say? That never changes. And, although I can hit back and kill that, or I can always go back and erase it, because this is the wonder of doing this on digital. And Jerry says, hello, Mike. And he chimes back in there. So it's nice to see that there are at least a couple of people that are watching me do some work here this evening. Now you see this is not white, but when you look at the entire picture, it's going to come across as pretty much white. But it also gives you a little bit of color to deal with here. And you notice I did go over the lines there, but I just corrected it by painting over it. And, that will go back and forth many times where I will paint outside the lines, and then I will go over something, and then it will disappear. This segment right here, a lot of people will farm out this work. Like if they're a real professional colorist or something, what they will do is they will hire people to do flats for, I don't know, $10, $20 a page. And then they will come in afterward and will do all of the, frankly, the fun stuff. Because once you get past this phase of this, it starts getting a little bit more painterly, and it gets, at least the way I do it, it gets a little bit more painterly and it gets a little bit more fun. But this is, you have to do this. I like choosing the colors. I don't know if I would want someone doing flats for me. I guess if I was doing 2 or 3 comics a month, I might want someone to do that. That's an autosave. Do you see how that thing just saved my bacon? By making sure that the thing was saved. That's, one of the problems of having an old computer is that it has to really, really think sometimes. And anything like this, where you're doing artwork or you're coloring stuff, or particularly with video, it really stresses this thing out. Which is why I need a new computer. But being an artist usually doesn't pay all that well. So I'll just hang in there with what I got. Mike and Jury is still talking about that app. So I want to pull back here, just kind of see where we're at. You can see that that shirt and his teeth read as white, even though neither one are white. Mike says that it's the Autodesk. What did he call it? Autodesk Sketchbook Pro is a free app that works on PC and Mac. Doesn't do lettering very well. Clip Studio Paint does the best lettering and the easiest lettering that I've seen. It is. Clip Studio Paint was originally called Manga Studio, and it was designed specifically for the purpose of doing comics. And you can really see that in every aspect of what it does. It allows you to, it natively allows you to set up panels like in a comic and do a bunch of other great things that, you can do. You can do it in Illustrator or Photoshop or just about any of these Krita or any of these other programs. But it's all set up natively through Clip Studio Paint. If you are into doing comics, I don't know. I haven't found any better. There may be better out there. I haven't found it. So I'm just trying to find kind of a medium that the gloves are kind of like dark colored, but I'm finding kind of a medium bluish gray to do this, because I'll be adding shadows and light and stuff to this. So I'm just trying to, basically what I'm picking here are colors that are right in the middle of the way I want this to look. And then I can come back in it with shadows and all that sort of stuff, and I still have kind of a mid-range color on this. And again, I could try, let me try this. I'm going to refer to other layers. So you see, I can click this and make it fill in stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of times that doesn't work. In this case, it worked pretty good. Seems like when I do it, what it does is it goes outside those lines and it colors the entire piece, and that becomes a big pain. So you just have to go backwards, and I end up doing this anyway. And, like you see right here, it missed it. It missed it here. It missed it in all of these places. So, you kind of have to end up going over it anyway. So it's just as well that I do it myself. Since I did that one, I'm going to do his other one. If anyone has any questions, I think it's just Mike and Jury that are watching me right now. But if anyone has any questions, either while it's live or in the future, I mean, this is going to be on the same places that we always broadcast the Taskforce Geek stuff. So that's going to be on my Periscope and my Twitter account, which is at Dirk Hooper Plus, and then also my regular Facebook page, which is Dirk Hooper, and also on our Taskforce Geek YouTube page, which is just YouTube/C/Taskforce Geek. So you can always ask me a question on there too, because I check that stuff actually several times a day. So if you see this after the fact, I'm glad to answer your questions about this sort of stuff. Or if you hate my coloring, then just put that on there too. I don't care. It's okay. So now here's how this guy's shaping up. It's coming together pretty quick. Again, I'm working off of, this is a character, so I have to kind of stick with this deal. He's got some blue jeans down here, it looks like. So let's see if I can get some blue jean color going. Looks about right. And you see that he kind of stopped doing it around here because the city is, like right here. But I'm going to go ahead and color underneath that because you don't want any gaps showing up. You don't want his leg to suddenly disappear. But if I remember, it's right around his waist that terminates. You can see I can go over the white area here if I want. I'm doing this on the night before Thanksgiving. Here in America, if you're looking at this elsewhere, which is possible, I know if you're looking at it elsewhere, you may not even know what Thanksgiving is. But I had some work that I was trying to gear up for, and then kind of at the last minute, the two people that I was waiting on material from, they kind of backed out on me. And so I thought I'd try to get this thing done for Scott because he's been waiting on this. And it sets me up with a little bit of practice before I do my my commission work, because I have several commission pieces to do. Now all I did is just grab that right there because it looks like in the original piece that that's the color of his belt. So I'm going to use that to color the belt too. I should get in closer. For some reason I'm not. All right, there's that. He's got a silver belt buckle. So again, I'm going to go to kind of a bluish color and maybe choose like a gray, maybe down there. Kind of a grayish, about right there. Let's get up closer to it. Yeah, I am not sponsored by Clip Studio Paint Pro, but I wish I was. I sing its praises every chance I get. I do love that program. It has set me free, not just with this, but with really any artwork that I'm doing. It is very versatile. And now I've used it so much that I'm getting comfortable with it, honestly. for Mike or anyone else out there who's doing comics, it has a way that you can set up a perspective grid. You can choose your vanishing point, put all that information in there, and then you can move that around at your leisure. Pretty impressive. Has word balloons on it. It has an animation aspect to it if you want. Okay, we're getting down to the nubbins here on this guy, at least for the flatting. So I'm going to back out for just a minute, and I'm going to show you, because I'm about to drop off the background, that the stencil layer that Scott put in there. And see, now I drop out that stencil, and it looks pretty sharp. I'd say that's pretty good. Yeah, there's a little area I missed in here, so let's get that. But by and large, we're doing pretty good. And then I'll go over and I'll ink the other, or I'm sorry, I'll color the other character. This, by the way, if I've heard correctly, is a couple who is doing this routine together, which is pretty awesome. I mean, if you've got a couple and you want to get, a card or a tag team or whatever set up in the Supershow game, then you can do this together, and that's what Scott has created here. Jerry says that the Oklahoma belt buckle is a nice touch. I thought so too. The couple that this is based off of is in Oklahoma, and of course, most of us that are involved in this Taskforce Geek thing are from Oklahoma, including Scott, who's the guy who did the drawing here. So I'm sure they're okay with that. All right, we're going to put the stencil back up for this character. She's pretty cool, right? Let's back off a little bit so you can see what's going on here. Her name is Fox Assassin. How about that? So once again, I'm just going to pick a color. For the skin tone. Mike likes that belt buckle too. And the name, Fox Assassin. Yeah, not bad. All the great names are not taken yet. Despite the fact that you might think they are. Now, Scott's kind of got something going on here. Let's see. Let me look at the actual character on her. I'm sorry you can't see that. He's got kind of a mesh thing going on underneath her. I want to make sure that that's accurate to the character. I think it is. Okay, she has stockings on, like those mesh stockings, just like Mike, help me out. Who's the DC character that has stockings like that? It's it's going to come to me here in a second. Black Canary. Thank you, Mike. That's Mike with the win there. One good thing about having Mike around here is that he's been involved in the comic book industry from every angle that you can imagine, being a store owner and a comic artist and obviously a fan. That he's pretty good at filling that stuff in there. So thank you, Mike. Yeah, looks like she's got a little Black Canary action going on here. Which is a good look. I like that look. I'm down with it. It's amazing how color brings everything together and kind of elevates things. Back when I was doing comics back in the 90s, it was a rare occasion to get anything colored. I mean, you could paint something quite easily, but doing actual comic color mean that you had to either paint it or you had to do it however they were doing it, which I guess they were using whatever that ancient process that they went through. Apparently, most of their colorists were sitting in the Marvel bullpen and stuff, and hand coloring these things using these color codes and all this crazy stuff. Which is kind of funny. She has a kind of a loincloth type thing here. Yeah, they had to pick, they had whatever colors, and they had to pick the colors, specific colors, for what they were going to use for those comics. It has changed so radically. And now coloring is done exactly like this. I mean, digital coloring has really set the industry free and is made for some really spectacular artwork. I mean, I am just now learning this process. It gets much, much more complex than this, for sure. Zatanna is actually who I was thinking of with the deal. He also gave me a Black Canary. They both have those stockings. She's going to be kind of easier. There's not as much stuff. All of her outfit is basically gray. So I'm going to pick a color of gray. I think I'm going to put a little blue in this gray. Wait a minute. Notice how my computer's thinking. You see that circle there? It's saving me once again because I haven't saved it. I'll tell you, I have done hours and hours of work and it was like a masterpiece in my mind, and I've lost it. And the thing is, when you do something, it's very difficult for me to do things 2 or 3 times. You like the same thing 2 or 3 times. And the reason for that is that, you discover things and you kind of have fun and you spend more time with it the first time. After that first time, you lose a little bit of that exploration and magic, just in my opinion. And it always seems to be a little bit less than what it was the first time that you did it. Now, some people can do things 2 or 3 times, and the third time is their best. I'm looking at this character again to see what's going on here. Oh, she's got a tail too, which is pretty cool. From what I can see, she's got like a cape with a fox hood on it. All right. I purposely chose on this to put a little blue into this. It's just gray. Her thing comes out as gray, but because we've got this kind of orangish stuff back here, I just thought it would look cool. I thought the blue would look pretty neat versus the orange. So, that's why I chose that. Now, again, this will eventually This will mostly come off as gray, especially when I start adding all this other stuff to it. Trying to be a little bit more loose because this is supposed to be fur. So in this case, I don't want to be in the lines entirely. I want it to kind of fade out there a little bit. This is the fun of painting, folks. And again, a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with this. I've seen stuff that's really amazing. I'm just giving you my process. A lot of people will use the selection tools, and they will select these things and will have the program fill in these items. Again, absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's just the way some people like to do it. I enjoy painting. So my thought is kind of keep the painting process as part of, what we're doing here. And again, there's so many different ways to do this. You can also paint this stuff very flat. Like if you were doing something for Mike Mignola, you might use just really flat color. You might not go past this flat color phase because his stuff really, if you over render it, you're going to ruin it. You're going to ruin the look of his stuff. So you have to think about that too, where if you're inking or if you're coloring, Jim Lee or Mark Silvestri or something like that, it really lends it well to that, overly elaborate, but, scientific and technical looking stuff. Cherie says she's got a White Wolf thing, Game of Thrones White Wolf thing. Yeah, I see that. Grant, you're never late. I'm astounded that anyone's watching this, so welcome. And Mike says, welcome to the party. He's already helping me out. Mike's helping me out while I'm actually doing work. It's kind of cool to be broadcasting while I'm doing work. Kind of getting double duty here. So what I'm doing now is getting up a lot closer on this. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. So I can get this stuff. And again, I don't know who's watching, but if anyone has any questions, please ask, or you have any comments or anything. If you see that I colored outside of the lines or made a grievous error, then please tell me. You all are responsible for catching the broccoli in my teeth here. This is the most relaxing thing in the world. If I wasn't talking or broadcasting live, I would just be like listening to music. You can't listen to music because if it's going to go out to YouTube, then that may be like a copyright violation. So I'm not listening to music and I'm talking. I never talk when I do artwork, because you're literally talking to yourself, which is pretty funny. But anyway, if I wasn't doing those two things, this is just the most relaxing thing in the world to me. You're just sitting here coloring. All the pressure is off here. This is the way art, this is when art is the most fun, is when the pressure's off. You can just kind of do your own thing. You get lost in coloring these things. I really do deeply enjoy that. That's the benefit of being an artist. I don't know. I think she has like white hair or something. I need to look that up and make sure before I color her hair. Kind of don't want to color everything the same if I don't have to. Hey, didn't Scott do a good job on this, by the way? Seems like to me that in the last few months, since he's been working on that Bad Candy piece and some other stuff, I think his stuff has really excelled. I mean, phenomenally. Just in a very short period of time. It's fun to work with any of these. I've worked with all the Rain King Studios guys, Scott and Sean and Rob. And it's fun to do work with your buddies. But there's a little bit of pressure there too. I want them to be happy with whatever it is that we're doing. Get a much bigger brush here. Just go right straight through that. Last time I was doing this, Scott caught that I was online, and then he called me on Facebook, which made the most horrendous noise ever. Please do not call me on Facebook while I am doing live broadcasts. Because he had something he wanted to tell me. I think I might have missed something there. You can pick up a color that you've done previously. Just grab it. Say, okay, that's what I wanted. That down a little bit. I think that right there is supposed to happen. All right, let's back up a little bit and see where we are on her. Oh, I still got her glove, so let's get on that. And again, I'm going to have to go back and grab that. For those of you who were not here at the beginning of this, I'm just doing flats right here. This is just me laying out. I wonder why that's not working. I'm just laying out the flat colors. The edge of the piece, the cutoff is right there, which is why there's not much detail over here. He's got her hand running off the edge. That's kind of weird. But it is what it is, as they say. Downtown. Mike says, glad to help. He shot a drawing video for his class earlier today. I've noticed you've been doing a lot of those. I also noticed that Mike, that you have a lot of really cool masks that you wear, which is super awesome. Jerry says, yeah, it's cool that people want to watch you work. Yeah, but that's kind of unusual. Most of the time people don't want to do that. And she alludes to that as no one wants to watch her do a spreadsheet. Hey, you know what? If you were into accounting, someone might want to watch you work that spreadsheet. Grant mentioned something I talked about earlier. Have you ever thought about getting someone to do the flats for you, or do you enjoy that part of the process? It's a great question. I enjoy this process, and I also like picking these colors. And frankly, I don't have the money to pay someone to do flats. If I was, a big deal, then and I was doing a lot of work, then I might think a little differently on that. I might go, hey, I'm going to find someone that I trust to lay this sort of stuff in, because you saw how much time that took for me to do that. And, it can be labor intensive. Honestly, this is not even Scott's already done quite a bit of work on this. This is kind of like a panel from a comic. And with a comic, you've got, 5 to 10 times more work that you're going to have to do. In this case, I don't have to do that, which is nice. Anyway, to answer that specific question, I enjoy this process. There's no doubt about it. And practically speaking, I don't have the money to pay someone to do flats, even if I didn't enjoy this process. Again, I'm choosing something that's kind of white, but not totally white, because you want to kind of save white in case you need it later. But it will read as white. So I'm going to get the white of her eyes here. And then I got to figure out what I'm going to do for her. Oh, I didn't do her eyes and I didn't do his eyes. And I'm wondering if I can figure out what color their eyes are. Just for the purposes of showing you what I'm looking at. I'm going to drag this over. Hopefully it doesn't kill everything. So there is Fox Assassin. And then we've got 4 pictures here. Okay, she's got kind of grayish hair, it looks like. And you can see the mesh here. But is that shading, or does she have some makeup or something over her eyes? It kind of looks like she's got some makeup over her eyes there. Unfortunately, there's nothing that's very definitive here. And that's as big as I can make that piece. What do you guys think, since you're watching this? Do you think she has something there over her eyes or not? And I can't for the life of me tell what color her eyes are. So I'm just going to pick a color. I'm going to make them brown. I guess I could make them silver. I'll make her eyes the same color as her hair. These are the silly decisions that you have to come up with. There's no one around to help you out. And if they don't tell you, you've got nothing to go by. Mike is agreeing that Scott has improved a lot. I mean, his improvement has been really exceptional here in the last few months. And I mean, I think primarily just because he's been very active. He's just been doing a lot of work lately. And he's, being in a studio has helped us out immensely. I wish Mike would get back to here in town so we could kind of swap ideas too. He'd be a good person to trade ideas with. We can do it over the internet, but Mike says, same here. That's the problem. Finding someone who can see the color like you want. Everyone's got their own take on color. It is really, really tough to find someone that has the same deal, or, they don't have to totally believe color the way you do, but at least hopefully they, you can describe it to them and they can give it to you. And mind you, color is one of those things that's insanely complex. It's insanely complex. I mean, I'm learning, I'm taking classes, I'm picking up books on this subject. It never ends, folks. If you get into color, I will literally, I want to do a painting so bad right now because of all of this stuff that I've been learning. I really want to do a painting. Unfortunately, I have a lot of work to do. I can't really do that. But, you can, there's just a lot of different things that you can learn, a lot of different ways of doing it. Coloring a comic is not necessarily the way that you do a painting. All right, I'm going to drop this stencil off and see where we're at. See how that came together when you drop that stencil off? It has that white background and then it's gone. So now I will not put that stencil back up again. What I will do, however, is back out a little bit. That's wrong direction there, Dirk. And I will put up all of the stuff there. So now you can get an idea of what the final piece is going to look like when we put that together. Now, in my opinion, I would make these 2 characters larger. I think, because they're kind of swallowed by the by the background. Or I might take that and make that yellow color a little less yellow so it doesn't compete. I guess I could make that decision on my own and then let Scott make the final decision there. And then here's a stats sample. You see that? That's what's going to run in the middle. So you can get kind of an idea of what this card is going to look like when it's all put together. That none of that is official, by the way. Please don't take that as, I know that some people watch this sort of stuff and they go crazy bonkers over this sort of thing. So we are approaching an hour, and I would kind of like to take a break and stuff. So I'm going to say, if you guys have any questions for me, give it to me right now, and I will answer them the best I can. Mike says we could go virtual and do that. Of course we could, and we should. And Mike, honestly, I'd like to do a project with you sometime if you'd be interested in that. I know you're very busy with your own projects, as am I, but I'm about to knock some things out, and I want to start gearing up to doing, more illustration work and more comic work, and do some writing and more creative stuff in general. So whether, whatever working together entails, I think that would be, I think that would be really cool to do that, even if you're not in town, Mike. Grant says, does the penciler give you a lot of feedback on how you're coloring? Scott basically lets me do whatever I want to. Now, some pencilers, or maybe the people, there are editors and there are writers and other people who have a vested interest in this sort of stuff. They might give you some information on what they want as far as the colors. I am taking color cues directly from these cards, that one of the cards that I showed you earlier. So I'm trying to stick within that realm and give you something that's close to that. But basically in this case, Scott just says, you just do whatever you want to do. And then he liked the last thing that I did for him, which was another piece for Steve Resk for the Supershow card game, and he really liked how that came out. So, I have free reign right now. Mike says you could shrink the foreground a little. I mean, maybe something like that. But then, I kind of feel like those characters should be bigger. But then when you put that in there, you got to realize you can't make them too big, or they're going to get swallowed up by the graphics. So I really like the concept, which is kind of like they're kaijus going through the middle of a city. That's kind of a fun concept. I dig that. I think that's pretty cool. Therese says she likes the less yellow idea. I think that would keep it from competing as much. And I might drop that fire in the background down a little bit too. I don't know what he did here. I might be able to do that without. Yeah, there's the fire. So, if I just knocked it down to that, obviously then they see how they pop out there when I do that sort of thing. That may be exactly what I do at the end of this process, is to knock that fire down a little bit, so that even if you have the yellow and stuff up front, they still pop out over all of that. So these are the sort of things that you can do. This is the miracle of doing digital artwork, because you can play around with this sort of stuff, endlessly. And if Scott gets it back and he's like, hey, I really like that fire, full featured, then he can put it back up just exactly like it is. I'm leaving it up right now because I'm going to be taking some coloring cues. That's a light source for me. So you got two light sources. You get this yellow right here, which is the lights of the city, and then you have the fire that's in the background, which is going to be another source of light for me. And I don't know how crazy I'm going to get, because honestly, what I should do is probably have the light coming up from the city on them. That's going to be maybe complex. I don't know, maybe. And I may think differently on that. If I try that sort of thing out, then it may be one of those things where I try it and I go, this is terrible. I don't ever want anyone to see this. And so that I will, I'll backtrack on it. But I think I'd like to try the dramatic lighting first. Mike says he's same here. He's holding on waiting on a writer right now, just working on the new Celtic Knights at the moment. What's your project, Mike, that you need a writer for? I would love a Bob Ross style PBS show. Let's have some of that. That is great. I can paint happy trees. I'm all about it. I also, listen, to be honest with you, as an artist, I get a kick out of watching Bob Ross, but also sometimes when I can't fall asleep, I will watch old Bob Ross shows, and that relaxes me so I can go to sleep. Hey, Sean, how you doing, man? Live art, yeah. It's pretty fun. Mike will talk, man. Hey, Ronnie, how you doing? He's loving the shows. This is something that's kind of a little bit different now since, Scott's working and Sean is working and I'm working, and we've got this thing where we can kind of show the process of what we're doing. It sure is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I got to tell you, I really do enjoy doing this. So, Sean says he's good. Mike says the writer and I are creating a new character and we'll be crowdfunding in the spring. Very interesting. Very cool, man. Keep it. Might be time to get back on Taskforce Geek. Keep us up on what's happening. Little dark humor. That's good stuff. Mike, your stuff's been looking really good too, by the way. I think that your stuff has excelled lately as well. And just like with everything else, I think the more you do it, the more the better it looks. Uh-oh. We're going to get in trouble here by broadcasting this live. Jennifer says spoiler. She's probably not watching my feed, I imagine. And Mike says anytime. Well, in any case, I'm going to wrap things up for right now and take a break. So thanks to everyone who tuned into this. I really do sincerely appreciate this. I'm going to get back on that here pretty soon. And if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them wherever you see this. And I guess that's it. Until next time, dream hard.